And here we are, and welcome to Sauna Talk. And I've said this before. One of the great things of technology and even COVID is it's really broadened the spectrum of Sauna Talk. All my episodes, 40, whatever, 50, maybe there's 60 episodes now. I've really tried to do them on the sauna bench because it keeps a lot of unilateral integrity to a conversation. But there is no better than right now. I'm in Buffalo, New York, and you can see in the background, I'm with my mother, and my mother is an acclaimed watercolorist, and I'm surrounded by art in Buffalo, New York. And I see Lewis here, Lewis joining us from Great Britain, and he's surrounded by a lot of cooking and spices in his kitchen. So Lewis, I want to welcome you to Sauna Talk.
Hi, Glenn. How are you doing?
That's great. It's great. And tell us where this podcast finds you.
So I'm at my house in Stoke-on-Trent, North Staffordshire. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Glenn. I've been following you for a long time now, and having the chance to be on this podcast is just an absolute honor. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, the honor and pleasure is all mine, brother. I've been following you since the beginning. We are kindred spirits on so many levels, and it's truly my pleasure to bring your voice to other sauna enthusiasts. And I thought it would be wonderful to just dive right into it. There's no better place to start than the beginning. If you could just share with listeners your history with sauna and what brought you to the authentic sauna experience. And before I do, frame up again where we are. Like we know Great Britain and we know London. You're north?
Yes. So most people know where Birmingham is. It's around about the center of Great Britain. I grew up in a city called Coventry, which is the central-most city. It's the city furthest from the sea in Britain. But I moved to about 90 minutes north from Coventry, about an hour north of Birmingham, to a place called Stoke-on-Trent. It's the northernmost city in Staffordshire. It's about an hour south of Manchester, so halfway between Birmingham and Manchester.
And Manchester is home to the Smiths, New Order, and all kinds of great music. We are kindred spirits in music, but and maybe we'll touch upon music and sauna in a relativity. But again, let's start at the beginning. What's your first memory of sauna, and what really brought you to sauna, Lewis?
Well, my first memory of sauna, sadly, is a really poor example. One of the common types of examples that you'll find in a gym, nestled in the corner at the back of the gym. Some really poorly designed, stuffy sauna with an underrated heater and a sprinkling of rocks. So that was my first experience of sauna. I was only really using it for extra benefits associated with the training that I was doing, but also to help me last a little bit longer in the cold water, because that was my thing, the cold water therapy. It actually all started way back when I started martial arts, which was about 14 years ago. Previous to that, I was trying all sorts of ways, not always the best ways, to alleviate symptoms of stress, anxiety, insomnia, and general restlessness. I started martial arts, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And shortly after that, started to get into diet and exercise in preparation for tournaments and competitions. A couple of years after I started there, one of my training partners suggested that I tried ice baths and cold showers, which was just a revelation. I can't tell you how much that has helped me. It's helped me with sleeping at night, to calm my restlessness. It helps me to function a little better in the morning. when I wake up, instead of being grumpy and irritable, I'm quite lively and happy after I've had my cold shower, and I just feel great. Um, to help me cope with the cold shower, I started to study breathing techniques because it took me a good year to get used to it. I used to sit at the side of the shower whilst it was running cold, just watching it run for a good 10 minutes before I could persuade myself to just go in and cool off. So I used to practice breathing techniques, learning how to control my breathing and to breathe with my gut and my diaphragm, and to slow my heart rate. And that helped me to meditate whilst I was in the water. And eventually just my thoughts just disappeared and
Beautiful.
everything became
Yeah.
quiet and
And what
serene.
year, yes, Lewis, what year was that where you really got into cold exposure? And was the Wim Hof method part of that, or did you develop your own breathing technique?
So this was about 8, maybe 9 years ago when I took my first cold shower. It was long before Wim Hof was in the news or in the media. And the breathing techniques that I developed, I was taught a lot of them by one of the higher level black belts in the martial art that I study, a guy called Ben Poppleton. He studied ancient pranayama breathing techniques. So he would teach a jiu-jitsu class, and then after class I'd pick his brains about some of these breathing techniques, which are invaluable. I recommend that people study how they breathe, because we all take that for granted. We think we all know how to do it, obviously, because we'd be dead otherwise. But it's a much deeper practice than what first seems.
Amen. Fabulous. So sauna came about as in conjunction with the breathing and the cold work, and it's quite fascinating that you've been into this well before cold exposure has become as popular as it is. You were brought to it because of your martial arts work, and it really, in summary, it's really helped you mentally as well as physically in your training. And then sauna. Okay, so you had been balancing the cold with heat, and you started to realize that eight sauna rocks on a little toaster oven on the wall in the back corner of your health club is not adequate. What was the light bulb or compelling reason to get into sauna a little bit more authentically or enriching? And what year was that? And what would tell us about your journey into good sauna?
So sauna came a little bit after the cold immersion and the breathing techniques. It was the last pillar of health that I've managed to discover. And this was maybe 5 years ago, when I'd had saunas before, but never really registered that it was something that I'd be becoming so passionate about. So I started taking saunas around the UK, because I used to work away a lot as an electrician, and I'd find the nearest hotel or whatever that had a sauna in there. And I initially only used the sauna as a way of heating my body past baseline, where I could then spend longer in the cold water.
Mm-hmm.
So I would cool down to baseline, and then I'd have the extra time going below baseline in the cold water. So for me, the extra time in the cold water was where I like to be, meditating and sometimes even having out of body experiences.
Right
And
on.
only really discovered these out of body experiences when I was using cold water in conjunction with saunas. But all the while I knew something wasn't right, because I never really enjoyed the sauna. It was just something I forced myself to do because I knew it was beneficial, and I knew the cold was waiting for me outside. It
So
wasn't
one
until
quick interjection, Lewis, back to that time. So what I just want to frame up what was happening here is you would engage in the sauna first as a encouragement for your cold plunge. And that was the order: heat, then cold. Is that right?
no, it was always cold, then heat, then cold.
So it was a reward for after your cold. Is that how you did it? Cold, then heat?
Like I can do the cold and then just put my clothes on and I'm happy. But I noticed that I could spend longer heating up if I started cold.
Mhm.
My first round in the sauna would always be the shortest, so I just started cold, and it would make a normal sauna round then. I would start cold and then go in and heat up, and that would allow me to stay in longer than I normally would have.
Got it.
And then I could spend even longer in the cold afterwards, and you kind of get stuck in a loop,
Yeah.
going back and forth from the hot and cold.
Yeah, and I would
It
say stuck, let's be generous to the word. We're rewarded by the contrast therapy. It's a
knowing
good
when to
place to be
stop.
stuck, right, brother? It's a good place to be stuck.
Yeah, it definitely
Um,
is.
okay, so keep us going on that. So then what happened
Yeah.
relative to
So
sound for you?
I knew something wasn't up. It was unenjoyable, and around about that time where I was discovering saunas, I was looking for media and particularly podcasts that I could listen to whilst I was driving. And I used to drive a lot. I still do. Um, that was when I found the likes of Joe Rogan and Rhonda Patrick, and I found Rhonda a little bit difficult to listen to sometimes because she comes out with some fantastic information, but I find it very technical and hard to keep up with. I think it was, I can't remember if this was right, but I think I found your podcast through Rhonda's. So I started listening to yours, and after the first episode and realized there was so many more to go through, I was absolutely hooked, and I was listening to 2, 3 episodes in the same journey on playing one after another. I absolutely loved them. You are the reason that I have managed to find this other world of sauna history and culture and everything else that goes with it, community, design, construction, the whole lot. It's your podcasts that have that have introduced me to all of this.
Well, I'm very humbled, brother. It's very spiritual to me to hear you say that. We are really bonded on so many levels, and that is humbling, very humbling for me to hear. I figure if Sauna Talk can help one person in their life and become stronger with contrasts and good heat, well, I've done a good job. So you not only made my day, but you've probably made my week. So I appreciate those kind words. But you did not just say, hey, I want a sauna for myself. I mean, you've really leaned into this. Can you share with listeners and give us a little date stamp of what came next and what you're doing now? Like, take us up to the present in terms of your commitment to sauna.
So I knew I needed a sauna. I needed my own sauna, and they're hard to get. They're big, they're expensive. I just didn't know how I could afford my own sauna. So I had an idea that I was going to justify the costs of a sauna by hiring one out, and I built a sauna on a trailer with the intention of driving it around the UK like a complete nutcase, turning up at events and jiu-jitsu workshops and camps and sharing it with all my training buddies, and hiring it out as a way of paying for itself. I had trouble finding the right sauna because of some of the technical information that I'd found on your podcasts and that I'd gone on to read about through sauna construction books. I wasn't really satisfied with the standard of saunas that were available in the UK with the online shops. I'd kind of had it in my head that I wanted a barrel sauna. This was mainly due to the aesthetic appearance of it and how it would catch people's eye as I was driving it around. So I eventually started looking elsewhere around Europe for a barrel sauna, and I came across a chap in the Czech Republic called Philip Gottstein, who was bringing these barrels in from Moscow in Russia. the same barrels that your friend at B Saunas is using. I sent an email to Philip and told him what my plans were. And he said, well, why don't you be the UK's first distributor of this company? So being very mechanically minded and experienced in construction, and kind of not really being happy as an electrician at the time, I thought, why not? I'll give it a go. So I started advertising and the orders just kept coming in.
Fantastic. What year was that where you contacted Philip Koschke, and what is the name of the barrel sauna company?
It was 2018, and the original company that I had was called Regenerate Saunas, and my reasoning for that is because saunas helped me to regenerate not just my body but also my mind. I worked a lot, I trained hard, I've got a young family. I found myself very tired and depressed a lot of the time, so saunas would give me that industrial strength relaxation, crammed into such a short period of time, that regenerated me and helped me carry on with the same momentum.
Thank you. Right. And then you have since changed the name of the company, and fill us in a little bit on that.
So Regenerate is something that I'm definitely coming back to. My plans with Regenerate originally were to have a relaxation retreat that all people could come to and use. My dream was to have somewhere out in the woods next to a river or some body of water where there's a sauna, some bell tents, an outdoor fire, something cooking, a cold plunge, just all the stuff where you could just go and unwind and maybe spend the night looking at the stars. That kind of took a sideline because construction just took over. The orders were flying in. So I decided to open a company called the Cedar Sauna Company. I called it the Cedar Sauna Company because from what I'd researched, I figured that Canadian cedar, Siberian cedar, the cedar was the most prestigious material that you could use in sauna construction. It's very durable and long lasting. It's naturally resistant to rot and fungal growth. It's light and insulative, and it smells amazing. So this is why I called it the Cedar Sauna Company.
It sounds like a metaphor for, I can't speak to smelling amazing, but it sounds like a metaphor for you, Lewis.
Sure.
You seem light on your feet, very durable, very hardy and sustainable. So beautiful. The Cedar spoke to you, and Cedar Sauna Company is a sauna builder in Great Britain, in simple terms, right?
Yep.
But
so I realized that I couldn't rely on importing barrels as a viable business model. And so I then started to study deeply sauna design and construction and the associated regulations that come from countries like Finland and Estonia and Germany. So I started looking into creating my own saunas from scratch using locally sourced materials. And that way I wouldn't have to rely on suppliers from, not just Europe, but, Russia and way out there, where we've had a lot of issues over the last couple of years with Brexit and COVID and supply chain issues and even war. It's all been going off. So I thought that was a smarter move to make.
Love it. Love it. And we collaborated together early on. You're quite good at computer renderings and design work. So I'd like to put in the show notes a piece that you and I did to help people new to sauna. I call it the butts on the bench business, where sauna businesses, they charge a certain amount of money, and then you show up for an hour and a half and you sauna and you make sure to bring your towel and And that sort of business is popping up like crazy in Great Britain as well as here in the States. So I just want to give a shout out to a really cool infographic that you and I developed. That infographic was printed and is on the door, the cool down room at the 612 Sauna Society. And I know others have applied that infographic. It's really cool. I mean, you and I, we simplified the sauna process, to help people. And I kind of wish I had it on screen so I could just speak to the elements, but most listeners know some of the core elements. Hey, when you're hot, you leave. When you're cold, you go in. Listen to your core, not your skin. Hydration. These are all sort of, well, let's say, universal principles to help people enjoy a good sauna session. So I want to give a shout out to that infographic, and here it is. Sauna tips. And hey, Louis, would you mind reading the sauna tips real quickly and number them? Let's just pull it out.
So first of all, these sauna tips were pulled from your podcasts, the advice that was given from some of your interviewees. I then mocked up quite an in-depth, every bullet point was a few paragraphs. And you got in touch and said, how about we just make this a bit more digestible? And you helped me to thin it all down. So we've got sauna tips to maximize health benefits. And at number 1, we've got hydrate. And it says to make sure to drink a pint of water before starting your session and 2 pints for every hour spent inside the sauna thereafter. Consider mineral water containing electrolytes, magnesium and zinc to replenish lost salts. So that was number 1. Number 2, we've got heat up. Relax where you are comfy, either on the upper or lower bench. The sauna is a safe place. People have been enjoying this practice for thousands of years. Number 3, steam. Steam is a beneficial addition to the sauna. It acts as a wash to cleanse the skin after sweat has pushed dirt out from the pores. Steam, or low loop, is a very spiritual element to good sauna. As a courtesy, ask others if they are ready for steam before tossing water on the rocks. Shall I continue?
Please, this is beautiful.
Number 4 is cool down. So you exit the hot room when the thought of jumping into a lake is about the best idea you've ever had. You could try a cold plunge, a shower, or a swim. Listen to your core, not just your skin, and enjoy some fresh air until your body is completely cooled. Number 5 is repeat. After a complete cool down, heart rate and blood pressure are most often lower than baseline. This is a great time to consider entering the sauna room to enjoy another round. And then 6 is eat afterwards. Try not to eat within a couple of hours before starting a sauna session. Be careful with alcohol, as it can affect your ability to regulate your body temperature. After finishing your sauna session, enjoy some food and beverage of choice and tell someone how great you feel.
Fantastic. Thank you, Louis. And it was spoken even better with that great accent you have. That took some time. I mean,
it did.
I think, I also think that piece stands the test of time. To me, that there's so many great tips or foundations for a good sauna practice in there. So thank you. And we will link to that infographic within our show notes. So let's talk about, let's move forward here. You came back from an amazing trip, and I would love, I want to hear about it. And I want to just dive right into it. And before I do, just to stay chronological. So are you still an electrician? Are you primarily building saunas? Is the Russian barrel in addition to your arsenal, or have you moved a little bit away from it? Just give us a little bit of a framework on what life is like today for you with the Cedar Sauna Company.
So I was an electrician for Stoke-on-Trent City Council until the day that lockdowns were announced. On that day, I was laid off as a subcontractor, and it was that day I knew that I needed to get my ass into gear and figure something out. I'd been looking at this, I've been looking at the Cedar Sauna company for a while at that point, but not really made any progress. So I used the opportunity to set up office in the kitchen, the one just behind me. I had a calendar on the wall, I had my printer set up, my laptop, and I spent all day, every day, building the website, building the company, and contacting customers, partners, people involved in the British Sauna Society, and just trying to, just trying to make this thing happen. Orders started coming in very quickly, and when the lockdowns were released, I hit the ground running, and I'm proud to say that I've been full-time the Cedar Sauna company for the last 2 years. I've just completed my second year as a limited company. It's been working great.
Great. And tell us about the product then. Are you still doing the barrels? Have you pivoted more towards stick frame? Give us a little preview of that.
So if you were to go onto the website, you would see that I offer design and consultation services. I use a 4-step method on the website. If you would like me to build you a bespoke sauna, then we would still start with the consultation. We would then move on to design. I would source and supply the materials, and then arrive and build on site. So even if you just want in the materials from me, we still need to go through that consultation and design process. I need to make sure that everything's right for you. So the barrels are still on there. They're still very popular. I've just come back from a trip to the Czech Republic via Erding in Germany to pick up some barrels. I also have some more modern looking structures that are coming in from Estonia. They're using some very innovative technology for electrical heaters, which circulate the heat and the steam around the room. They reduce the stratification between the lower and upper temperatures and create a very oxygenated and manageable environment. They're calling these the Sauna sauna cubes. So I have my 2 options. I have the traditional looking barrels and the modern looking sauna cubes to order, and either be delivered in one piece, or in the case of the barrels, be constructed on site. But I'm predominantly bespoke indoor and outdoor builds at this moment.
Beautiful job. Let's talk about barrels really quickly, and then we're going to dive right into your trip to Czechoslovakia. So I'm talking to you from America in the United States, and I don't know what it is about this country, but everything, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's pizza ovens, I'm just looking around the room here. I mean, it could be lamps, it could be anything. It all gets commoditized in this country, and it's really kind of it's a reality trip. You know, it's a race to the bottom in terms of costs, and lack of quality. And I just want to throw barrel saunas under the bus, and then I want to defend them. So let me just, I got the microphone. So that spirit has created like really shitty barrel saunas in America. And I feel bad because I've experienced this Russian barrel, and it's quality, right? Like you have the density of the wood that creates the lampomasa and the radiant heat. But in a traditional, well, I won't say traditional, in the bastardization of American style or North American barrel saunas, it's just been cheapened. You still have the 2x4 and the staves and in this kind of roundness, but there's a serious compromise that happens with the lack of quality of the electric heaters that are usually spec'd with these barrel saunas, because they're trying to meet a price point. So you have very poor ventilation, a very poor heat exchange. And because of that, those that know good heat in America are off to throw barrel saunas under the bus. I mean, they are a stepping stone here in this country for those to experience sauna. and there are some good barrel saunas that are being constructed. So I'm rambling, but I just wanted to create a differentiation that all barrel saunas are not created equal. You have shitty barrel saunas and you can have good barrel saunas, and you found good barrel saunas with a lot of integrity. So long-winded, but I just wanted to create a little bit of space and difference. Do you want to comment to that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so these barrels that I've managed to find, I can honestly say, if I can find better barrels, they will be on the website instead. They're very high spec, they're thick, they're made with Siberian cedar, which technically isn't a cedar, but neither is Western red cedar. It's a member of the cypress family. So this Siberian cedar, it has very similar properties to the Canadian cedar. It's, like I say, it lasts long, it's durable, it smells nice. It's insulative, and it holds the heat well. Like you say, the Lampa Massa, that all directional heat that doesn't just come from a single source, it comes from everywhere. It provides this too. The round shaped barrels, they're great, but this company also makes modified shapes of barrels too, and the reason they've done this is to allow you to have multiple bench levels, which is one of the most common complaints with barrel saunas, that there's only one level of benches and that the feet get cold, and there's heat above your head. You can't have the benches any higher because the ceiling curves in this round shape. So these barrels that I'm getting from Moscow, they really just look like barrels. They're actually solid construction. They're held together with screws, not the tightening bands that you see other barrels held together with. They've got thick bitumen shingle roofs to make sure that no water leaks inside. The benches are aspen, which is very soft and comfortable to sit on. And I've started to build these barrels with either a Sauna circulation device for an electrical customer, or an icky wood burning stove for a wood burning customer. So I've taken the best barrels that I could find and the best heaters that I can find and married them together. The round barrels, they work perfectly with these circulation devices because they're designed to bring the heat down and the air up.
Beautiful. Yes. So let's transition a little bit. Again, I keep dancing around your most recent trip, and we're going to get to that really quickly. One more quick one. You and I are kindred spirits of good heat. How important is good heat, and share with us your experience with good heat and what it means to you.
So it's not just the heat for me, it's also the air, the oxygen, the environment. Good heat to me needs to be manageable.